Hello. Okay. Miss Smith and the Haunted Library by Michael Garland. That's your last name. Yeah. Zach stared out of the classroom window at a dreary fall morning as he waited for his favorite teacher to arrive. Suddenly, Miss Smith burst through the door. Good morning, class! We're going to visit the library today. There's someone special who I want you to meet. Zach smiled when Miss Smith picked up the incredible storybook before heading out the door. The library was right down the block from the school. Zach warily eyed the dark stone building as they walked single file up the sidewalk. The creaky door swung open and they tippy-toed inside. Class, Miss Smith said, this is our librarian, Virginia Creeper. Zach stared in shock. Blue hair, pale skin, dark eyes. He hadn't been expecting this. Hello, Miss Creeper said in a high-pitched, squeaky voice. How can I help you today? This is the season for spooky stories. Do you have any suggestions? Miss Smith asked. Oh, yes, the library replied. Quite a few. I might find some in your incredible storybook. Miss Smith handed the book to Virginia Creeper. The librarian opened it and said, I'll just read a little from my favorite scary stories. Miss Creeper began to read about a dark, haunted wood. Zach shivered. Then, with a thunder of hooves, the headless horseman leaped out of the book. The children's mouths hung open in disbelief. Virginia Creeper started reading again, and the Hound of the Bakersville pounced out from the book. More reading added the clinking and rattling chains of Marley's ghost appeared. New stories brought out the Hunchback of Notre Dame, Frankenstein, and Count Dracula. The class started to cling to Miss Smith. The great black horse snorted and stomped his hooves. Frankenstein groaned, but Virginia Creeper just kept on reading as a flock of ghosts flew from the book. When Captain Hook and the Wicked Witch of the West entered the room, Zach wondered if he should run for the door. The scary creatures were crowding the room, but that didn't stop Virginia Creeper from reading. Rumpelstiltskin, the Queen of Hearts, and the Big Bad Wolf squeezed in among the others. Zach looked up and saw the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk bump his head on the ceiling. Next, the room was filled with eerie sounds of whiffling and burbling. Virginia Creeper read on as a flaming-eyed Jabberwocky arrived in a puff of smoke. Then the strangest thing happened. Virginia Creeper stopped reading and started to pass out cookies and apple cider to the children and the characters. The mood changed. To Zach's amazement, a party started. All the creatures seemed happy to be at the library. The Headless Horseman gave horsey rides and the kids lined up. Someone brought out a ball and played fetch with the Hound of Bakersville. Dracula told jokes. The giant gently picked up some kids and lifted them high in the air. Everyone was enjoying the fun. The characters didn't seem so scary now. Virginia Creeper happy smile suddenly changed to a worried frown when she looked out and saw the seniors' book club coming up the walk. Oh my, said Miss Creeper. I almost forgot. It's time for the book club. They can't see this. It will give the seniors such a fright. Go and tidy up while I stall them at the door, the librarian told Miss Smith. Virginia Creeper blocked the impatient readers from entering while Miss Smith ran around in a tizzy. She picked up overturned chairs and straightened the bookshelves. Outside, the seniors were getting grouchy, but inside, the kids and the characters became too silly to notice. Can I help? Zach asked Miss Smith. She handed the incredible storybook to Zach. Remember, Miss Smith said, we have to finish each story so that the characters will go back into the book. Read the last page of each tale while I deal with this mess. Zach opened the book and quickly finished all the stories. One by one, the characters went back into the incredible storybook. The puzzled book club burst into the door just as Zach finished the last page. Okay, class, it's time to check out your books, Miss Smith said. She guided the class towards the big front desk. Everyone thanked Virginia Creeper before marching down the library steps and heading back to their school. With borrowed books under their arms, the children were looking forward to reading more about the characters they had just met. Zach smiled and wondered what they would read tomorrow. Cutie pie. Should I just go in the next book? I'll just do all. Okay. Let's do Nursery Crimes by Arthur Geisart. Jambono and his pretty wife, Merville de Peru, immigrated from Ames, France to a small nursery just south of Ames, Iowa, an area famous for its tree nurseries. Jambo and Marvo, as they were known in America, had 12 children. From an early age, the children were taught how to trim trees into sculptural shapes. They were skilled in the art of topiary. Jambo and Marva also dealt in giant pumpkins and salvage to make ends meet. Every fall, all the nurseries in the area trimmed trees into the shapes of turkeys. They were a big demand for them. The children were good topiarists. They loved their craft. This afternoon, they were finishing the first turkeys of the year. Jambo was the first one awake the next morning. When he went outside to stretch, he saw the turkeys were gone. Not a single topiary was left. "We've been robbed. Everyone up! Let's look for clues." They looked high and low. They decided to follow some suspicious tracks. The tracks led to the road to Voller's place. Voller was a notorious topiary thief. They climbed the fence. They could not tell their turkeys from all the others, so the sheriff couldn't help them. Dinner that night was grim. Without the turkey money, they would have a very hard time this winter. "We'll be all right," Marva said. "We'll make some more. Get your tools and I'll pick the trees we work on." The children worked like beavers. Meanwhile, Jambo and Marva devised a plan. They hollowed out some pumpkins. That night, Jambo and Marva kept watch on their turkeys, and inside each pumpkin was a little topiarist. The next morning, they found they had been robbed again. Everyone had been so tired they fell asleep. It looked like Voller's work. He was always suspected when topiaries were missing, but nothing was ever proven. After the exhausted kids had gone to bed, Marva and Jambo had coffee in the kitchen. "We're ruined," Jambo said. "Maybe not," Marva replied with a smile. "Look at the temperature, Jambo. It's 24 degrees. Our first hard frost," Marva said. "Call the sheriff and wake the children. We're going to Voller's." "Those are our turkeys," Marva said, pointing to the yellow ones. Marva had selected special trees for their latest turkeys. Unlike the evergreen topiary, they changed colors in the fall. The yellow turkeys were a complete surprise to Voller. The sheriff was happy because now he could finally pin something on the topiary thief. The sheriff arrested Voller and his men and took them off to jail. Voller confessed to everything. All the turkeys were returned to their owners. Later that fall, Jambo and Marva had a big sale. By then, the turkeys were really turkey-colored. They sold right away. They sold their pumpkins, too. They treated everyone to apples, corn, cider, and cookies. Over time, Jambo and Marva's turkeys became famous at Thanksgiving, and their business prospered. Did you like that one? It's sleepy. Otter in Space by Sam Garton. On Sunday, Otterkeeper took me and Teddy to the museum. The museum is the best place ever. We saw a huge dinosaur skeleton and met Teddy's cousin. We also looked at old paintings made before crayons were invented. In a museum, even boring things become interesting if they're old enough. But our most favorite part was a special room all about outer space. There were lots of fun things to do and buttons to press. Teddy and I got to see real moon rock. Otter Keeper said it came all the way from the moon. And the moon is very far away. The video told us so. Our last stop in the museum was a very important one, the gift shop. Unfortunately, Otter Keeper and I couldn't buy everything I needed, so I was forced to make some very difficult decisions. On the way home, Teddy and I were a little sad. We had a new spaceship, but we really needed a moon rock too. The next day, after Otter Keeper left for work, we were still sad. Playing in outer space was no fun with just a spaceship. Teddy suggested going back to the museum to get the moon rock, but no one knew how to get there without Otter Keeper. Giraffe offered to drive, but I don't really think he knows how. I needed to think of a clever plan to get my moon rock. This took a long time. Then suddenly, I had the best idea ever. Teddy and I would get the moon rock from the same place the museum did, the moon. We made a very important list of very important things. It was very important. But before getting started, we decided to have our lunch. Thinking of ideas and writing lists can make you hungry. Lunch is very important too. The first thing on the list was to build our spacesuits. You must not forget to bring a spacesuit if you're going to the moon. Unfortunately, our house has a lot of gravity, and this makes it hard to properly test a spacesuit. Teddy took his spacesuit off. He didn't seem to take space travel seriously, so I decided it was time to start his training. Problem solving wasn't his strong point, but he impressed everyone with his performance in the anti-gravity training. Teddy asked if Giraffe would be coming with us to the moon. I explained that Giraffe, of all people, could certainly not come. Giraffe had a very important job back on Earth. Now it was time to build our spaceship. This was very important, and I told everyone they had to help, but I still had to do most of the work myself. Finally, it was time for the launch. Liftoff went very well, but we had a bumpy moon landing, and my spacesuit got a little broken. We didn't have long to find our moon rock, but luckily they were all hiding in the same place. We chose the best moon rock we could find, the biggest one. It was hard to get it back to Earth, but Teddy and I agreed it was worth it. The day got much better now that we had the moon rock to play with, and then Otter Keeper came home. We discovered he really doesn't like moon rocks. In fact, he was quite upset and said the moon rock had to go back where it came from. This was a silly idea. We obviously couldn't get it back to the moon because our spaceship was broken. Otter Keeper said we could discuss what to do with the moon rock at dinner. I kept my spacesuit on the whole time to show I was serious. Finally, Otter Keeper agreed to let us keep the moon rock, but only if we took it outside for a bath. That evening, Otter Keeper added, "Do not dig up moon rocks" to our list of things not to do. But he didn't say anything about digging up other things, so tomorrow, Teddy and I have decided to go back to the moon to dig up a dinosaur. Okay, last one. This is I Know a Shy Fella Who Swallowed a Cello by Barbara S. Gariel. I'll start that again. I Know a Shy Fellow Who Swallowed a Cello by Barbara S. Gariel. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a cello. I don't know why he swallowed a cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a harp, not so sharp to swallow a harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a sax. Hard to relax when you swallow a sax. He swallowed the sax to jam with the harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a fiddle. No time to twiddle when you swallow a fiddle. He swallowed the fiddle to jam with the sax. He swallowed the sax to jam with the harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a cymbal. Not so nimble to swallow a cymbal. He swallowed the cymbal to jam with the fiddle. He swallowed the fiddle to jam with the sax. He swallowed the sax to jam with the harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a flute. That was a hoot to swallow a flute. He swallowed the flute to jam with the cymbal. He swallowed the cymbal to jam with the fiddle. He swallowed the fiddle to jam with the sax. He swallowed the sax to jam with the harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a kazoo. Strange thing to do, swallow a kazoo. He swallowed the kazoo to jam with the flute. He swallowed the flute to jam with the cymbal. He swallowed the cymbal to jam with the fiddle. He swallowed the fiddle to jam with the sax. He swallowed the sax to jam with the harp. He swallowed the harp to jam with the cello. I don't know why he swallowed the cello. Perhaps he'll bellow. I know a shy fellow who swallowed a bell, the teeniest, tiniest, petite cascabel. Well, his belly, it wiggled, his belly did shake, it rumbled and tumbled and quivered and quaked. It rocked and rolled, it swiveled and swelled, and all on account of that wee little bell. So he belched and he burped, he turned shades of yellow, it seemed he was doomed, that very shy fellow. He waved and he wallowed, he stomped and he yelled. And the next thing he knew, out jingled the bell. Then out buzzed the kazoo and tooted the flute, out crashed the cymbal, that noisy galoot. Out flashed the fiddle, out sizzled the sax, out strummed the harp, he played to the max. Well, he bellowed. That fellow did bellow. And last but not least, he cha-cha'd the cello. The end. You're so sweet. So sweet.